Maren Borkert. I'm Professor for Digital Entrepreneurship and Innovation Management at the Exponential University for Applied Science, and I'm coordinating the research for the Fairwork project. The Fairwork project is funded by the Berlin University Alliance, and it's carried out here at the Technical University of Berlin, together with the Oxford Internet Institute and Humboldt University. And it's about the platform economy. So the platform economy is a recent and rapidly growing phenomenon. In 2008, it's generated worldwide, the platform economy worldwide generated in revenue about 204 billion US dollars, and this is going to double in just 5 years. Okay, the pandemic has shown that demand for platform work has actually increased in only 5 months, from January to May 2020. The demand for platform work rose by 40%. And of course, with regard to the lightening of the regulations, we see a small decline, but nevertheless, it's going to be more and more important, and people are going to be engaged in it. So what is really platform work? Think about all the workers that deliver the service that you book online. Okay? So there are two broad categories of platform work. One is a category that is geographically tethered to in-person services. So it requires a geographical proximity of the worker and the customer. These are household-related services like cleaning, caring, pet sitting. This is food delivery. Every time you order something for lunch at home or for dinner, there's a person bringing you the service, bringing you the food. This is related to ride-hailing services in the city when you book yourself a cab to the main station, right? So these are geographically tethered, and this is what we call platform work. Besides of this, there's crowd work. Crowd work is different. Crowd work is a work that can be done online from everywhere in the world. And this is related to services just as filling in a survey, or training in an AI system, or doing questionnaires, doing design work, doing translational stuff, all these kind of things. This is crowd work. And you already realize that the rights of workers, the risk they encounter, are pretty different between the two major types of platform work. And Fairwork is focusing on the platform work that is locally bounded, that is an in-person delivery of a service booked online. Well, the main actors of the platform economy, usually people think about, well, there are two sides, right? There's the workers delivering a service, and there are the customer demanding the services. And the platform is just something like the technological tool that facilitates the interplay between supply and demand. Yet, these platforms are not naturally given. They are human-made. They are based on business values, business choices. They reveal relevant insights into business goals and business strategies. So these platforms, the digital platforms, they really provide the basic conditions, the framework under which the workers and the customers meet. So they are playing a very important part in the platform economy as well. For many people, for many newcomers in this city and in this country, it's an easy way to earn, it's a fast-track way to earn money, to earn themselves an income. It's a lifeline for those who face barriers in accessing regular employment. And very often, so it's attractive for migrants, it's attractive also for students, for example, right? And very often, both start as considering platform work as a kind of interim solution and a kind of transitional stage, but then they realize that due to the barrier they face in accessing the regular labor market, they stick with platform work. And the disadvantages, though, are related to employment rights. Very often, digital platforms circumvent or try to prevent workers from accessing rights. These are employment rights like minimum wages, sick pay, regulations with regard to working hours, or even collective bargaining rights, right? But there are also rights related to social protection, like unemployment benefits. And how do they do this? Well, what we see in the digital economy, in the platform economy, is that they classify workers, or they misclassify workers, even sometimes as independent workers, letting them assume all the responsibility for their health insurances and so forth, So this is something really that we should think about. Is this the new kind of digital entrepreneurship, in the platform economy, in the digital age? Are these the kind of working conditions that we all are going to have to face in the digital age? Are working conditions in Germany deteriorating? Or can Germany, due to its strong labor regulations, act as a vanguard to tame for other countries, and vanguard to other countries also, in order to tame the most excessive expressions of platform capitalism? Well, the Fairwork project is focusing on working conditions of platform workers. And it's meant to gather insight into this recently developing and very powerful new type of economy. And it's also meant to provide practical suggestions for how to improve the working conditions of platform workers. So the Fairwork project is based on 5 basic principles. And we are going to provide together information, data, with regard to these 5 principles. And we are going to come up with a ranking that is related to these 5 principles. Fair pay, fair conditions, fair contract, fair management, and fair representation. So the first 2 are related really to the fair payment that the platform worker receives, and to working conditions that are safe and protecting the workers' health. The third principle is related to the digital platform providing really a contract and not just terms and conditions, as is often happening in the gig economy, in the platform economy. And fair representation is included in a management that allows for open communication channels, that establishes processes, clear and transparent processes for communications, also between customer and worker. And the 5th is about fair representation. And here we refer to collective bargaining rights, to rights of the workers in order to form a Betriebsrat, a council, and have a collective body to show and communicate their concerns and their necessities. Well, we have a dream at Fairwork, to be honest. We would like to engage with the workers, the customers, the regulators, and the companies themselves, the companies setting up these digital platforms, in order to come up with a fairer future for the gig economy, the platform economy in Germany. And the way we are trying to achieve this is we are gathering data with workers' interviews, with desk research. With this data, we are convening management interviews, and we are going to talk to the owners and establishers of these digital platforms about our findings, right? And we are going to ask them with regard to fair pay, with regard to fair representation, with regard to fair management, what can you do? What kind of data can you provide us so that we could grant this extra point for you? And why are we doing this? Because we do believe that research has an impact on society. So the data that we are gathering does not belong to us into a publication, but it also belongs to the companies in order to provide them the possibility to improve their services, to improve how they relate with their platform workers, right? So, and it's also there in order to inform customers, because each of the customer, we all have a choice. When we are ordering food or when we are booking a ride to the next station or party or whatever, we have a choice which platform we are going to choose and which kind of services we are going to book. So it's all about transparency and about raising awareness and getting people into collaborating towards establishing a fairer gig economy in Germany. So the Fairwork project is actually the BUA, the Berlin University Alliance, is made of a consortium of 3 universities. And this is the Technical University of Berlin, the Oxford Internet Institute, and the Humboldt University. And the 3 institutions collaborate together in order to implement the Fairwork project. Besides this, of course, Fairwork Germany is only one small part in an overall picture. The Fairwork project is actually carried out in 28 different countries all around the world, because the platform economy is not only a new phenomenon in Germany, but it's relevant in all of the countries around the world. So we have colleagues all over the world in 28 countries. We are collecting data with regard to the working conditions of platform workers. And the idea is, of course, also to compare them. The principles is something that we are going to update every year. Okay, so the principles with regard to the rankings of the different platforms are something that has been developed together with the ILO and other the unions and so on and so forth. These institutions who traditionally are engaged and have very good experience and expertise when it comes to workers' rights, but they have been discussed and worked out for an analog economy. Now we are in a digital economy, so we have to take these working standards, these working rights, and find a translation for this new type of economy, right? So at the beginning we had a workshop with these established institutions in order to come up with the principles that are then going to be implemented in all of the countries around the world. We just talked about 28 countries. And with every year we have rounds of revisions when it comes to the principles. It's very important to understand that these are general principles, something like fair pay. This is a general principle. Of course, it's related to the local minimum wage. Why local? Because it changes between country and country and city and city. Besides this, we understand that also what is recognized as the minimum wage differs from country to country. This is why we established also the living wage, which is actually something more concrete in terms of the worker's life experience to understand if the money that he or she earns is really enough to make it until the end of the month, right? So we have these principles that are going to be contextualized in each of the countries and the cities that we are investigating, and they are going to be revised on a yearly basis with regard to the experiences of all the different research teams around the world. Yeah, just take a step outside. What you're going to see is the Gorillas rider, you're going to see the Uber drivers. What you're not going to see are the services provided by people in the households, right? That are going to be booked through digital platforms. What I'm trying to say is that I think Corona has even shown it more, the pandemic has really shown it. Digital infrastructures are a part of our everyday lives. We book so many different services through them, right? From ordering lunch or ordering rides to the main station. So it's part of our daily lives. I think the pandemic has even shown this more. It's important that we acknowledge that this is a growing part of the economy. There are no comprehensive or consistent comparative data when it comes to how many people are actually working in the gig economy, in the platform economy in Germany. But nevertheless, we are talking about, estimates talk about from 500,000 to 1.6 million people, or almost 3% of the working age populations. So this is a constant number, and it's growing. It's important to focus on this topic because what we can see from and what we can hear from the streets or from the media is that a lot of these platform workers, they are not satisfied with their working conditions. You could see it in the recent protests, right, of riders here in Berlin that make it to the media. Last year there was the amendment of the transportation services, personal transportation services, with regard to opening up this very established taxi industry towards new forms of ride-hailing, Uber and so on and so forth, free now. So there's a lot of happening in our cities and a lot of happening in our economy and society. And this is important to acknowledge. It's not only an economic phenomenon, it's also a social phenomenon, because there's people who are affected by the working conditions. So the aim of the Fairwork project is really to gather information and approach platforms with this information in order to provoke change. So there's a couple of platforms who do like to collaborate with us, who are improving on their working conditions, on the working conditions of the workers, in order to render a service, okay, to them, in order to improve their situation. From last year's report, one of the impacts of last year's report is that two of the digital platforms that we investigated, they incorporate anti-discrimination guidelines to their business models. And this is the kind of impact that we would like to see, because they realize that a lot of their workers, they do have a migration background. So it's important also to kind of highlight these issues that may arise from not being fluent in German, having a contract in another language other than German, not being familiar with certain rights and the systems in deployment benefits in Germany and so on and so forth. So it's very important that platforms realize what kind of workforce is working for them and what kind of needs they do have. And again, for this year's protests, of course, the Fairwork researchers were also present. We observed, we collected data, we collected data also from the workers. And we are going to approach also the management and going to ask them what they can do in order to improve working conditions, okay? Because this is the overall goal and impact that we are striving for.